Welcome to episode 11 of Beyond the Walls, the series where I cover current hot topics on Embark Studios games, the finals, and the in-development Arc Raiders, their communities, and especially Easter egg discoveries. I'm excited because the Easter egg hunters in the finals community have recently made some pretty substantial breakthroughs, not only in the finals Easter egg puzzle, but also in discovering what's inspired the lore for the entire game. As a result of that progress, this episode has ended up being a couple of weeks in the making. It's gone through 3 iterations and it's now a long one. This is possibly the biggest single chunk of progress we've made in the big Easter egg puzzle that's been ongoing since September 2022. Yeah, let that sink in for a moment. That's over 2 years of Easter egg solving. Like many Easter egg discoveries, the progress that's been made has certainly come as the result of a group effort. And while I might have run with the baton a little at the end here to give us a better overall picture of where the lore for the game comes from, this video should also give you quite a good insight not only into how progress is often made in this main puzzle by the combined efforts of many, but also how spotting tiny details can result in making breakthroughs, and also how crazy all the connections can be. The entire puzzle is so crazily complex and expansive, and now clearly tied to the inspiration for the game's lore, that I'm actually starting to wonder if this puzzle, which is created by Embark Studios co-founder, chief content officer and executive producer for the finals, Rob Runison, will become known as the most complex and elaborate Easter egg puzzle in the history of gaming. It's certainly a possibility, and maybe that could be a video for me to make down the track. That is, of course, presuming we can fully solve the puzzle. All that aside, let's start with the puzzle clues and move through to the big picture of what has inspired the lore for the finals. Here's a simple starting point. It's the statue of Polish artist Jan Matejko that we've all seen on the Monaco, Skyway Stadium, and SIS Horizon maps. Jan painted this extraordinarily chaotic battle scene of the Battle of Grunwald, fought during the Polish-Lithuanian Teutonic War on the 15th of July 1410. For now though, I just want you to remember this dude because we'll return to him soon. In early March, shortly before the launch of Season 2, a CNS subreddit appeared and a bunch of posts were made on the subreddit by a user named Arcus, including this 2-page heavily redacted document on multi-co letterhead. Easter egg hunter Ludenope noticed that near the bottom of the second page of the document was some faint upside down text. Ludenope has underlined it here in red, and you can see how it's barely visible without any Photoshop manipulation. Hunter Elo then brought out some of the details a little more, and hunters Big Oil and Nova worked out it could be words written in Polish. Hunter Arcade translated the Polish word for photographic and worked out that the name of the Polish city Częstochowa also appears, and found the name of a photographic studio in the city. Hunter Fish then found the image used to create the text in a review under the Google business listing for the photographic studio. The name of the street the studio is on translates to Avenue of the Blessed Virgin Mary, and the Virgin Mary had appeared as a clue previously. At the end of that street is the Jasna Gora Monastery, which houses a famous painting known as the Black Madonna. Remember the monastery too, because we'll also return to that shortly. Now you might recall that at the end of level 2 of the main Easter egg puzzle, we got this image titled I Want To of the game's mascot Namatama in a knight's helmet floating on the edge of space. This initially led us to the Black Knight conspiracy theory, but we didn't progress beyond that. However, a recent search on Wikipedia for Black Knight led to Zawisza the Black of Garbo, whose description says he was also known as the Black Knight or First Knight of Europe, and was a Polish knight and nobleman. He served as a soldier and diplomat under the Polish king Władysław II Jagiełło and Hungarian Bohemian king Sigismund of Luxembourg. He was regarded as a model of knightly virtues and was renowned for winning multiple European tournaments. His nickname resulted from his black hair and custom-made black armor that is now kept at, wait for it, the Jasna Gora Monastery. So when this discovery was made, we had 2 seemingly unrelated parts of the puzzle, the multi-co documents and the I Want To image, linked through Zawisza the Black of Garbo. But this is where things started to get really interesting. When Hunter Fish showed me this connection, he was sharing his screen with me and went onto the Wikipedia page for Zawisza the Black, and I immediately recognized what you are hopefully recognizing right now. That's right, Zawissa the Black is the knight featured in the painting of the Battle of Grunwald by Jan Matejko. As soon as I spotted this, we knew that Jan Matejko and the Battle of Grunwald painting were far more important to solving the main Easter egg puzzle than we had previously thought. Up to that point, we'd thought Jan's statue was in the game as some sort of art reference from the Embark team, rather than being related to the main Easter egg hunt. Anyhow, once we knew this, I went digging for more info about the Battle of Grunwald and found something that would lead us to a brand new part of the puzzle. In the lead up to the Battle of Grunwald, a pair of simple bare swords were sent as a mocking gift from Ulrich von Jugendgen, the Grand Master of the Order of Teutonic Knights, to King Władysław II Jagiełło of Poland and Grand Duke Vytautas of Lithuania. The swords were sent hours before the battle as a symbolic invitation to engage Jugendgen's forces. After the Polish-Lithuanian forces were victorious, both swords were taken as a war trophy by King Władysław II to Krakow, Poland's capital at the time, and placed in the treasury of the Royal Wawel Castle. The simple swords were eventually lost to history, but a monument to King Jagiełło was placed in Central Park, New York City in 1945 and shows the king larger than life seated on a horse holding the two swords crossed over his head as a symbol of defiance and the union of Polish-Lithuanian forces. When I saw this statue, I was reminded of a comment Rob made back in May where he wrote, "I mean, the entire hunt started with swords and an X. Can't get more obvious than that, hee hee." Adding to that, Rob had previously made several comments in the finals Discord, potentially referring to Central Park, with a phrase he's mentioned a few times being a walk in the park. This goes as far back as December 2022, when he wrote, "Hi, Tier 1E is not that hard to be honest. Tier 1F might be a little harder. Tier 2 ABC and Tier 2 DEF are actually pretty obvious, and Tier 3 is a walk in the park. I mean, we are only on level 2 and you are still getting a lot of clues. The final level, on the other hand, well, that is a completely different story." Also, if you followed the hunt from the beginning, you might recall that the very first image we received with a clue in it, this image of a samurai busting through a door, was titled Slash and had a binary clue of a / in the Twitter post in which the image was posted, and those directed us to an answer for that first level being a URL because of the slash symbol. It seems fitting then that if you look at Central Park in map view, it also looks like a slash symbol. So it's possible we had a super subtle clue about this location right from the puzzle's beginning. Remembering Rob's clues was the beginning of what has now ballooned into a plethora of clues that all link the main Easter egg puzzle to Central Park and also another location in New York City. Let's run through some of them. So we have the crossed sword statue in the form of an X. Just south of the statue, the park is crossed by 79th Street, with 79 in Roman numerals, LXXIX, being the password for Tier 1B of Level 2 of the puzzle. About the same distance northeast of the crossed sword statue is Cleopatra's Needle, one of two Egyptian obelisks, with the other being located in London, England. A relatively recent clue we had was 8 letters hidden in this multi-code GIF that spell out Abishimu, which is an obelisk, and we have had a few other Egyptian clues as well, such as the name Zarabi from the Las Vegas casino is actually a village on the banks of the Nile between Cairo and Luxor, as well as the Luxor Skybeam, a Las Vegas icon related to Egypt. There's also a statue of William Shakespeare in the park and a garden named after him a little west of the crossed sword statue. Rob had given us a clue about Hamlet back in June last year. Further west is the American Museum of Natural History, which houses many dinosaurs, including a T-Rex, which we have as a sticker in-game. South of the crossed sword statue is an Alice in Wonderland statue, with the White Rabbit being a character in that story, and also a featured Easter egg on the Soul map. North of the crossed sword statue, we have an oval, with oviform having been a password in Tier 1D of Level 2. A line drawn from the crossed sword statue through Cleopatra's Needle takes us to the Guggenheim Museum, where there's a Vesica Piscis on the roof. A Vesica Piscis, or the shape formed by the intersection of two circles, was hidden in the image red sports character in Tier 1D of Level 2. That line to the Guggenheim also happens to cross an oval-shaped room numbered 735 in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. As well as that room's link to ovals that I mentioned earlier, the numbers 735 are seen in-game as 357 on the Las Vegas map. As a slight aside here, that room features a large painting painting by John Vanderlyn of panoramic views of the palace and gardens of Versailles in France. That palace is a former royal residence commissioned by King Louis XIV, who was also known as the Sun King. Both Sun and King have appeared as multiple clues throughout the puzzle. As part of another path of investigation I've been making, the history of the pinball machine can be traced back to court games played during the long 1643 to 1715 reign of Louis XIV, when billiard tables were narrowed with wooden pins or skittles at one end of the table, and players would shoot balls with a stick or cue from the other end. I mention this because the large silver ball sphere we see on Cicerizon could be a reference to pinball, which was eventually superseded as entertainment by arcade games. Also on the Cicerizon map we see a couple of statues of an apple, which could also point to New York, with it being known as the Big Apple. An additional connection to New York City that potentially leads us to both Central Park and another iconic location in the city is the Gil T. Fisher Pet Kingfisher bundle in the final store, which includes this sticker of a kingfisher wearing a crown and named Gil T. Grin. The 1991 film The Fisher King, starring the late Robin Williams and Jeff Bridges, tells the story of a hunt for the Holy Grail in New York, and it was directed by Terry Gilliam, which is where the Gil T phrase could come from. This is not the first time a Terry Gilliam film has been referenced in the Easter egg hunt. This image of Namatama wearing sunglasses appeared in the closed beta 1 trailer as a fragmented image that was pieced together by the Easter egg hunters. The general consensus amongst the hunters was that this image was a reference to the sunglasses worn by Johnny Depp's character Raoul Duke and the Nevada location from the 1998 film Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and therefore the image was a hint to the Las Vegas 2032 map, which was announced at the game's launch. Additionally, Terry Gilliam gained stardom as a member of the Monty Python comedy troupe and co-directed their film Monty Python and the Holy Grail, providing an additional link to the Holy Grail legend as well as another Black Knight character. This Holy Grail path potentially extends further, with various traditions describing the Holy Grail as a cup, dish, or stone with miraculous healing powers. The stone version was known as lapis exilis, and the word lapis has appeared multiple times as a clue, including as Mackenzie Lapis, the CEO of in-game sponsor Volpe, who also lends the lapis name to the grandstand on the Las Vegas map. Anyhow, circling back around to Gilliam's film The Fisher King, an iconic scene in the movie takes place in Grand Central Terminal, commonly known as Grand Central Station. Grand Central has multiple pieces of art that appear to connect to the hunt. The Glory of Commerce sculptural group rests atop the terminal's facade. The work includes representations of Minerva, Hercules, and Mercury. Minerva was the Roman goddess of wisdom, justice, law, victory, and the sponsor of arts, trade, and strategy. The word Minerva appeared as a clue on the back of the neck of the Impact candidate outfit by converting these numbers to ASCII. And while we don't seem to have had references to Hercules, Mercury, who was a major god in Roman religion and mythology, and whose Greek equivalent was Hermes, has been referred to on several occasions. The talaria of Mercury, or the winged sandals of Hermes, are represented by the level 5 reward for the light's evasive dash ability, which is called fleet-footed flight, and a caduceus staff carried by Hermes is represented by the vital sign charm that is level 69 of the current battle pass. Also linked to Hermes, the word Trismegistus appeared as a binary anagram on a TV in the Soul Map Hospital during the open beta of the finals. Hermes Trismegistus, a legendary Hellenistic period figure, was a combination of the Greek god Hermes and the Egyptian god Thoth. A compact and cryptic text attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, known as the Emerald Tablet, was associated with the creation of the Philosopher's Stone and the artificial production of gold. It has also been popular with 19th and 20th century occultists and esotericists, among whom the expression "as above, so below" became a motto. A work made of glass, bronze, and mosaic by Brooklyn-based artist Alan Driscoll in 1998 appears across several Grand Central North passageways and is titled "As Above, So Below." The mosaic's 5 scenes each stem from a different continent and depict myths and legends about the heavens that reflect life on Earth. This is a good example of where a single clue can lead to a location or subject seemingly unrelated, but when put alongside other clues, kind of reinforce the direction the puzzle is designed to lead us down. Also at Grand Central, there is a 13-foot or 4-meter wide clock on top of the south facade of the building. It features Roman numerals which have appeared in various level 2 passwords, and the number 6, which appeared similarly, hides a flap that is used for maintenance on the clock. The clock also has a Tiffany-style design which marks a potential link to diamonds, a gem we've had multiple clues about. Beneath the clock is a statue of Cornelius Vanderbilt, longtime owner of the New York Central. We'll come back to him in a little bit. Grand Central's main concourse ceiling is an elliptical barrel vault that bears an elaborate celestial mural painted with more than 2,500 stars and several bands in gold, with both stars and gold featuring many times in the puzzle previously. Potentially referring to these things, back in early 2023, Rob Brunison asked Embark's customer service lead Dusty Gustafsson, "Have you ever seen the Diamond Star?" To which she replied, "No, I'd have to take the train up north," which didn't make much sense to us at the time, but now with these links to Grand Central seems to make a lot more sense. By the 1980s, this Grand Central ceiling was obscured by decades of grime. Spectroscopic examination revealed that it was made up of air pollutants from trucks and cars, as well as soot and contaminants from incinerators and factories. Spectroscopy has also appeared several times in the hunt previously. In September 1996, the ceiling boards were finally cleaned and repainted. Lights were installed into the ceiling boards to imitate the stars, restoring a feature previously only seen from 1913 to 1944. A single dark patch near the Crab constellation representing Cancer was left untouched by renovators to remind visitors of the grime that once covered the ceiling. This dark rectangle is curiously similar to something you might have seen but not thought twice about, these little light-coloured rectangles that have started appearing around the maps recently. The ceiling also bears a small dark circle amid the stars above the image of Pisces. In a 1957 attempt to improve public morale after the Soviet Union launched the Sputnik satellite, an American Redstone missile was set up in the main concourse. With no other way to erect the missile, a hole was cut into the 1944 false ceiling to allow a cable to be lowered to lift the rocket into place. In the brown-eyed girl image published in November 2022 as part of the set of images for Tier 1D of Level 2 of the puzzle, a clue read VM57, which we worked out stood for Van Morrison 1957. In 57, Van Morrison formed his first band at the age of 12, the Sputniks, named after the Soviet satellite. Additionally, Van Morrison's song Brown Eyed Girl was recorded at Embark Studios in New York City. So there's a clear connection there. In February 2020, South Korean pop group BTS staged a live performance of their song On at Grand Central's main concourse. One of the members of BTS has a tattoo that reads Orere ex Chineri, a phrase which translates to rise from the ashes, and Dusty Gustafsson posted that Latin phrase alongside this image posted in the finals Discord in October 2022. So hopefully you can now see there are multiple clues pointing to Central Park and Grand Central Terminal, but why those two New York locations or even New York City as a whole, and where to from here for the puzzle? And it's those questions that have led us to a breakthrough that has revealed what the lore of the finals is actually inspired by in the real world. Here's exactly how that unfolded. While I was making this video, I was wondering why so many of the clues from level 2 of the puzzle pointed to gold and calcium carbonate, and how those might relate to New York City, and then thought about how New York has a history of being home to some of the world's wealthiest, many of whom built some magnificent marble buildings in the city during the 19th and 20th centuries. So I made a Google search for the story of wealthy New York families, and the first result was this page about the 400 Gilded Age. The 400 was a list of fashionable New York society during the Gilded Age. I then looked at the Gilded Age page, which mentions a book by Mark Twain of the same name that describes the Gilded Age as an era during the late 1870s to the late 1890s where serious social problems were masked by a thin gold gilding of economic expansion. Further down the page, it mentioned wealthy industrialists and financiers, including John D. Rockefeller, Andrew Carnegie, J.P. Morgan, Meyer Guggenheim, and our statued friend at Grand Central Terminal, Cornelius Vanderbilt, who was a shipping and railroad tycoon. Starting with Vanderbilt, these men were labeled labelled as robber barons. On the Wikipedia page, they are mentioned alongside this cartoon that immediately caught my attention. It shows John D. Rockefeller's Standard Oil Company, which held a monopoly over the American oil industry at the end of the 19th century, as a helmet-clad octopus with tentacles wrapped around the Congress and state capitol buildings, as well as the steel, copper, and shipping industries, and reaching for the White House. The octopus reminded me of the Osprey's octopus that we've seen previously. The images share the same overall sense. I then went straight to look at the creator of the cartoon, who was Udo Kippler, and the clincher was his birthday, April 4. Why is that date important? For two reasons. In early February this year, Rob Brunison wrote a cryptic comment under one of my YouTube videos, writing, "Don't ever forget how crucial your videos are. They are not odorless like xenon. No, they bring joy like a xylophone concert on April 4. They are inspiring and interesting for Easter egg hunters, gamers, and us devs. Stay strong." There are obviously multiple clues there, but the April 4 date stood out in particular, and until Udo Kippler came along, had no solid connection. Additionally, Tier 1D of Level 2 of the Easter egg puzzle started with this 404 page GIF, which I now suspect was also a subtle clue pointing to Udo Kippler's birthday. The name Gilded Age also satirized the term Golden Age, which is used to describe historical periods where particular things were at their greatest. And if you followed the main Easter egg hunt for a while, you might recognize that these Golden Ages are where many of the clues for the entire Easter egg puzzle come from. For instance, the Golden Ages of astronomy and chemistry, of gaming in the 1970s to early 1990s, of movies such as spaghetti westerns and James Bond, of music such as Elvis, Van Morrison and Beethoven, and of space exploration such as the Apollo program. So we have all these clues from Golden Ages that when combined point to New York's Gilded Age. Now immediately before New York's Gilded Age, Central Park was created as a location of respite for the city's middle class, to take them away from the noises, smells and chaotic life in the city as it underwent rapid economic development, which would increase dramatically as it moved into the Gilded Age years. And then it kind of dawned on me that this series of clues and period of history in New York might not just be a path of solving level 3 of the finals Easter egg puzzle, but also that it might be what the entire lore of the finals is based on. Specifically, I realized that the finals game show can be an analogy for Central Park during New York's Gilded Age. So we can imagine a timeline where the finals game show was created by its original designers as an escape from the robber barons that exist in the game's real world, or meat space as it's known. Those robber barons are Multico, Osprey's, and the other sponsors with their hard-nosed CEOs. But the timeline that we join the game in has now moved into the equivalent of a Gilded Age where everything is overtaken by corporate sponsorship, including the game show itself, and that is why CNS wants to take back what is theirs, to return it to the game show that was the place of respite it once was. I posted these findings and this idea into the Easter egg channel of the finals Discord, and a short time later Rob Brunison confirmed it with his usual eyes emoji, which he hasn't really been doing that much lately. This is a big step in our understanding of the inspiration for the lore of the finals. Some other connections were also confirmed by Rob at the same time. Udo Kippler, the cartoonist who drew the octopus image, ran a magazine in New York called Puck, named after a character in William Shakespeare's play A Midsummer Night's Dream. Two mascot-like statues of Puck still adorn the Puck building, and they hold a mirror in their hands, with mirroring having been a clue that appeared multiple times throughout the hunt. Kippler also drew this cartoon of the Titanic sinking, a clue that appeared during Tier 1E of Level 2 of the puzzle, and this image of politicians and people from various professions revolving around New York politician Richard Croker, depicted as the sun in this 1898 cartoon, with the sun also having appeared in multiple clues. Additionally, a two-day civil disturbance in New York City in 1857, known as the Dead Rabbits Riot, potentially acts as inspiration for the White Rabbits Easter egg found on the Soul Map. And similarly, the expansion of John D. Rockefeller's Standard Oil Company during the Gilded Age of New York coincided with kerosene becoming the dominant fuel for lighting. This saw a decline in whale oil being used, and therefore a decline in the whaling industry as a whole, which potentially relates to the word cetacea and the dolphins on the Cis Horizon map appearing at the end of level 2 of the puzzle. You can see how much of a complicated web of clues the puzzle forms, but they do all relate to this piece of New York history as an inspiration for the lore of the finals. So now we understand more about the inspiration for the lore of the finals. Where do we go from here in solving the Easter egg puzzle? Well, I suspect that we're actually being directed to a specific location, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, with the clues leading us into New York City through Grand Central Terminal and Central Park. So we could have come in through either of those paths of clues, but it just happens we picked up on the Central Park connection through Jan Mateko's Battle of Grunwald painting first, but it could equally have been the Glory of Commerce statue that we found first as an example. Well, on the password page of level 3, the password URLs include MMA in them, which we think might stand for Metropolitan Museum of Art. And this leads us to how the first password might be solved. When the coordinates that appear on the level 3 page are plotted on Google Earth, at first glance they appear to be in locations on land and sea that have no interesting features. For a while we also wondered if they might be lunar coordinates, but then recently Hunter Ludenope made some curious connections for the coordinates, which I helped out with for coordinate 4. Coordinate 1 is located in the Kara Sea. Coordinate 2 is on the border between Chad and Sudan. Chad has a Kara sub-prefecture, and Sudan in the south has the Kara people. Coordinate 3 is located in the middle of nowhere in Saharan Libya, and at this stage we don't have a solid connection for that. Coordinate 4 though is on the edge of the Arctic Ocean, and the location marks the maximum limit of the Barents Kara ice sheet during the last glacial maximum. Coordinate 5 is located near Karakul in Kazakhstan. So 4 out of the 5 locations have a connection to the word Kara. If we search for the word Kara on the Metropolitan Museum of Art website, one of the first artists we find is Kara Walker, who is regarded as being amongst the most prominent and acclaimed Black American artists working today. She is best known for using black cut paper silhouettes in her work. Now, there are a couple of reasons why this might be a prominent lead for where we can find the first password of level 3. Recently, while he was chatting in streamer Water Dancer's stream, Rob made the comment, "Hey, 0 is an integer, so it is a real number. Black is a color, the ultimate color since it absorbs all light. And finally, yes, Pluto is a planet." Poof. So there's a hint to the color black in there. Additionally, this piece by Kara Walker is titled An Unpeopled Land in Uncharted Waters, which would fit perfectly with all the locations we've been given because they are either located in unpeopled land or in relatively uncharted waters. Now, we haven't yet solved the first password of level 3, but it feels like we're not far away. If this path is correct, then when we solve each password, we might be provided a new set of coordinates that can be linked in some way and lead to a piece of art on the Met website, which would not only be pretty cool, but that sort of structure would probably help us a lot and actually make level 3 of the puzzle more of a walk in the park, as Rob suggested. Regardless, the last couple of weeks have resulted in some solid advances in the finals Easter egg puzzle and our understanding of what inspires the finals lore. Thanks for watching this long video to the end. It's also been a long one in the making, so for those of you that have been waiting for it, thank you for your patience, and thank you to the members of my channel for their ongoing support. It is greatly appreciated. Do the usual YouTube business if you want to see more videos from me from now on. Give a like or comment as you see fit, and enjoy the rest of your day. Kia kaha. Stay strong.
Everybody knows the world ain't right. Down on your knees, get up and fight.